Hello and welcome to the MBOM podcast, where you'll learn to master the business of yoga. MBOM is a proud part of the Wander Barn Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Amanda Kingsmith. I'm a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, a yoga business coach, and a total business geek. Here at MBOM, you'll learn everything you need to know to create a sustainable yoga business by learning from myself and guests from around the world about how they built their yoga businesses, and about how you too can become a successful yoga teacher, studio owner, and much more. All right, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mastering the Business of Yoga. As always, I am super excited and grateful that you are tuning in for this episode of the show. And I am super excited for today's guest. She is somebody that has made a name for herself around the yoga space, and particularly in the yoga business space. And she's somebody who I have been following on social media for a number of years. We've been kind of circling each other for a while. And as I was getting guests lined up for this season of the podcast, I was just thinking, I really want to chat with this person. So I am thrilled to welcome Ashley Hagen to the podcast. Ashley is an online yoga teacher and business coach who helps other yoga teachers transform into confident online entrepreneurs. She went from teaching 15 plus yoga classes per week and owning a local studio to running a thriving yoga business 100% online. She has a background in marketing and graphic design, and she's learned to combine her skills in technology with her passion of yoga to help yoga teachers navigate the world of online yoga teaching and business building. Don't we all need this? I feel like somebody who's passionate about the technology side of things is amazing for us to have in our world. So I'm really excited to introduce you all to her. And so in this episode, Ashley shares how she created her online business, how she first started making revenue online, how she shifted and found a niche that she loves, as well as some of her top tips for getting started with teaching online, creating a successful YouTube channel, creating courses, and so much more. So this episode is jam-packed with goodness. Ashley shares all the things with us, so many good business lessons, so many good tips. So I hope that you really enjoy this episode. Before we get into it, I just want to give a little shout out to the sponsor for this episode, Offering Tree. Offering Tree is my go-to recommendation for yoga teachers and studio owners. If you're looking for a one-stop shop for all things yoga business, Offering Tree has got your back. They are amazing. So go check them out, offeringtree.com/MBOM. If you want to sign up for a trial there, or maybe you're ready to just get started, you can do that all from that link, and listeners of the show get a little discount. I'm going to tell you more about Offering Tree a little later on, so stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's dive into the episode with Ashley Hagen. All right, here she is. Welcome to the show today, Ashley. I'm really excited to have you here with me.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm excited too.
Yeah, we've been connected online for a while, and I feel like this conversation, to me at least, is like super overdue.
Yeah, I know I've been following through email and your podcast for actually quite a while too. And when you asked me to get on here, I was like, of course, this will be so exciting. Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
Well, I'm super grateful you said yes, super grateful to have you here. And I'd love to kick things off by hearing a little bit about your yoga journey. Can you share with me how you got into yoga, and then tell me a little bit about what inspired you to become a teacher?
Sure. So I became a teacher a little over 10 years ago. So I took my teacher training in 2013. But I was practicing yoga a few years before that, primarily because I wanted to be a better athlete on the college track team. So I was a high jumper. And so I thought, if I'm more flexible, I will be a better athlete, which really wasn't true. But what was true was the what I learned from yoga, the more mindful aspect of yoga, really helped me to become a less stressed out athlete, which then in turn helped me. So I started in college and then took my teacher training in 2013. And immediately after teacher training, it was a 2-week teacher training too.
Oh, wow.
So it was really quick, 2 weeks and done. But I had done a lot of prep work up to it. The training I took, the trainer had a DVD program that I had done like 6 times. So I had a lot of prep work into it, did the 2-week training, and then immediately decided to quit my job without a plan. How fun. So I quit my full-time job to become a yoga teacher and fitness instructor full-time. And at that time, I honestly thought being a full-time yoga teacher meant traveling the world and doing retreats and all the really fabulous stuff I would see online on Instagram. Was it Instagram around in 2013? Well, wherever I saw it, wherever I saw it, I was seeing, just beautiful pictures and just that being a full-time yoga teacher was like a luxurious, wonderful lifestyle. And that actually wasn't the case. So, not for me, at least, because I had no plan. So, what I ended up doing was teaching in studios and gyms a lot. So, I taught 15 to 20 classes a week, workshops eventually, teacher trainings. I did that for 5 years. Actually, really enjoyed it, traveled a little bit, but nothing like the luxurious retreat. I actually have never been on a retreat until last year. So I never did any of that, but I taught a lot of classes. And so with that, I gained a lot of experience of making mistakes and what it's like to teach in studios in different environments. I think I taught in like at least 10 different gyms and studio settings and in cafes and on rooftops. And I took every opportunity I could. And then I moved. So then everything shifted where in 2018 I moved, I got pregnant, had a baby, and everything that I had worked really hard for in my in-person community shifted now to non-existent. And so I moved to online teaching. And that's when I started posting to YouTube again, kind of without a strategy, without a plan, but I did something. I was taking action because I knew I wanted to teach yoga. So I started posting to YouTube, started dabbling in online course creation. Zoom yoga still wasn't super popular, so I wasn't doing anything like that, just creating courses and videos. And then that's kind of what led me to starting my online business. So that's how I got into yoga. That's my experience with yoga teaching. And then what led me to where I am right now, where I'm primarily teaching online and teaching others how to teach online and taking that and transitioning to that. And right now, even if I wanted to, I couldn't teach a bunch of classes because I do have two little kids. So I have to take care of them. And so I'm mostly a work from home mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Me as well. So I hear that. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thanks for sharing all of that. I think it's really cool how you just like took a training and were like, okay, I'm just going to dive into this, quit my job. There's a lot of people and a lot of personalities that are probably like, whoa, I'm stressed.
Oh, it was stressful. And when I quit my yoga teaching jobs, that was also, it must be my personality, but that was also kind of on a whim where I thought, I need a change, quitting everything. And I left and moved across the country. I met a man. I met a man. And a month later, I moved, and a month later, I got pregnant. So it was, and we're together now. So it's good. We have two kids, but it was I have this spontaneous sort of personality. Nowadays, it's not so much. I mean, having two little kids, I have to be a lot more safe with my decisions and what the choices I'm making. But back then, I just said, "Yep, let's do it." Whenever a fun opportunity came up, I was all for it.
Yeah, I love that. That's super cool. And so you were teaching online kind of before the chaos of the pandemic when everyone switched gears. Had you brought any like in-person classes in your like new location, or were you just teaching primarily online because you had your first baby at that point?
I was teaching primarily online because the studios I had an opportunity to teach at were at least 30 minutes away. So I moved to a very small community that had nothing, no studios. I'd have to drive pretty far. So I did get some subbing opportunities, but having to drive 30 minutes one way and then teach a class and then driving home, especially after having a little baby, just it didn't make sense. However, we did eventually move, and then there was a studio that was just 4 miles away, so 10 minutes. And after my son was a year old, I ended up buying the studio. So I did buy a studio. I owned a studio for a while. I did bring in person back just before the pandemic had struck. So I bought the studio in 2019 at the end, and then 5 months later had to close due to pandemic. And so I had this online experience prior to buying the studio. And then I set the online aside so that I can do in person. And then once we shut down in person, I went back to online. So I already had the experience of what cameras do I have to use? How do I film yoga classes? I already had that. So in that regard, I had a little bit of a jump start on most others. And so within 24 hours, I had made my in-person studio to Zoom studio and switched everything around, even while taking care of a little baby. I was like, I can do this. And so because I had that experience in the past, I just brought it back and we did okay. And I got to a point where the pandemic just never ended. It seemed to never end. And my lease was 2 more years. And at the end of the 2 years, I just said, you know what? I'm making more money online than I could with the studio. I don't know if it will ever be what I wanted it to be. And especially being that I had then a 3-year-old, I just wanted to spend more time with him. And a studio is a full-time plus job. If you don't have a manager, or if you are the owner, manager, and primary teacher, it takes a lot of time. And I thought my time right now is so much more valuable with my son and my family. So I had to make that decision. And I could also make more money online for this time frame than I could trying to run the studio. So I let that go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that comes with like the emotions of letting something go, but also like a win-win, right? Like more time with your family plus more revenue coming in. It seems like, it's obviously like the best option.
Yeah. And the studio wasn't mine to begin with. I had taken over someone else's dream. Really, they didn't want it anymore and it was just going to shut down. And so I thought, I want to continue the community. So let me buy it. And that's what I wanted, but the community wasn't able to continue when no one could gather. So it wasn't as emotional as maybe someone who had built it up from scratch, but it still was something I had to let go of and just shift into newer and different opportunities, which did come up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, one of the things I was just talking with another yoga teacher the other day, and we were talking about the benefits I think that online yoga can have, and you mentioned one of the ones pretty much indirectly with like what you were talking about with your story, which to me is like, as yoga teachers, we can teach at other studios and we can make kind of the flat fee. We can drive back and forth, and we have to teach a lot of classes to make a livable income. Or we take over a studio, we have like a huge overhead and a ton of hours, or we can run our businesses online. And I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of like more about your online business, how you've kind of framed it, structured it, where you bring revenue in from, and all that good stuff, if you're open to it.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So back in 2018, when I was beginning, I knew I needed to sell something. I needed to sell something because in order to make money, you have to sell something. So I started creating ebooks and digital products like PDFs and guides because that was my background professionally. So I have a college degree in graphic communications and digital design. And I spent like 10 years creating PDFs, creating flyers and posters. And I knew back then that I wanted to combine yoga teaching with that, but I didn't know how. So without studios to teach at, I finally had this opportunity to sort of combine everything. And at the time, it didn't work great. Not everyone wanted what I had to offer, probably because I didn't have an audience. I didn't have much of an audience. And so selling my ebook or my PDFs or my guides, it kind of fell short for a while, but I knew in the back of my mind that it was going to work. And I know my partner, not understanding, he didn't get it. He was like, you're working so hard, we're not seeing any money come in. So there was a lot of frustration, and it took quite a long time for me to actually um, make sales. And I think that's the case for everybody. And if you see me or someone else nowadays, newer teachers might say, well, you make it look so easy. But I guarantee you, 5 or 6 years ago, it was not easy. But a few things I did back then was every time I did make a sale, which was $27 on this yoga sequencing ebook, I always would either give myself a high five or give my partner a high five and say, okay, I made a sale. Like we'd have a celebration, even for something small. And so it started with that ebook, that sales of the ebook, which turned into a course. So I started my first online course called Simple Sequencing and Self-Care. I think I had like my mom join and a few others. I had like a few people join, but even 4 or 5 people, that showed me that there was an interest in it and it was possible. And I ran this course in a Facebook group. That's it. There was no course platform. There was nothing. I I was of the mindset that I wasn't going to pay for things unless I absolutely had to. So I was on the free version of everything. I did free version of Teachable, which is a course platform, and they take 15% on the free version. I don't think it's available anymore, but they take 15%. So I ran my first or second course on the free version, got enough money to pay for the paid version, and then upgraded. So I had very minimal overhead. I was doing everything do it yourself style, and it took a lot longer than probably it should have, but I did it. And so ran my first online course. I was posting to YouTube without strategy, just posting whatever randomness. I mean, if you look back at my old videos, it's pretty bad. They're so bad. They're so cringy. And I get people who comment like, the background music is awful. And like these comments, I'm like, this is 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whatever it is. Go ahead and leave whatever comments you want. But I leave the videos up because I want people to see them, to see the difference of my videos now compared to what it was 5 to 10 years ago. It's very different, and showing people that you have to not be great in order to get better. You have to start. And so that's what I did. And I continued to sell courses, continued to post YouTube videos, and then a short stint of owning a yoga studio. And I got back to the online after when COVID hit again. And I was actually really excited. I was excited to teach online again and to get back to it. I had missed it. And so with my excitement, I think people were able to see that I was excited about it. And because I was happy and excited, they jumped on board and didn't have anything negative to say. Whereas some people who are kind of humdrum, like, oh, we have to teach online. Oh, I know it's not the best. That energy, it shows, it's contagious, I guess. So students will also feel like, yeah, I mean, it's not that great, but we'll do it. Instead, I jumped in excited, willing, and happy for the opportunity. And I think that's the kind of students that I attracted.
Hey everyone, we're just taking a quick break from the podcast to talk a little bit about Offering Tree. Offering Tree is my number one recommendation for yoga teachers who are looking for a one-stop shop in their yoga businesses. And one of the things that I love about Offering Tree is that they're constantly making updates. So I wanted to tell you about one of the new features that they have. This feature is really awesome. You can start processing your in-person payments by swiping credit cards with Offering Tree. So one of the things that I really love about Offering Tree software is that you can take all of your payments right from their platform. So when I set something up like my courses, I'm able to have my students go there, they make their payments, everything's connected so that I'm able to get paid right away. And now you're able to do things like this in person. So Offering Tree's point of sale can now connect to a terminal reader via Wi-Fi. You can have as many terminal readers as you need and accept in-person card payments for classes, memberships, and more. This makes it super, super simple to be using your online software and also running your stuff in person. So if you are somebody that runs classes in the park, classes out of your home, or maybe runs your own studio style classes in a studio, gym, or other type of hall or place like that, you can now use the software from your terminal reader. This is a huge game changer for yoga studios as well because it allows you to connect everything all to one place. So if this is something that kind of gets you excited like it gets me, then definitely go check out Offering Tree some more. Head on over to offeringtree.com/MBOM to get a little discount or do a free trial. Once again, that's offeringtree.com/MBOM. All right, now back to the episode. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing all of that. And yeah, I was just talking with somebody the other day as well about like the first thing that you do. And there's a quote out there. I think it's Reid Hoffman. I need to look this up because I use this quote a lot, but it's like, if you don't look back at the first thing you did and kind of cringe at it, then you haven't progressed. And it's the same for me. Like I have old podcasts out there where I'm like, ooh, nobody listened. Like just don't listen. It's really cringy. I don't want to listen. But I leave them up for the same reason. I think part of it is so that I can see and remember how far I've come, but also for other people. It's like if you're starting a podcast, you're probably not going to, be the host that you want to be in a couple of years or after a year once you've done 50 or 100 episodes or whatever it is. Like it takes time to cultivate any skill that we want to cultivate, right? It's like we're not just naturally good at these things most of the time. We have to build them up. And I love that you've left your videos up as well so people can see, where you came from. Because it is easy to look at people once they're a few years in. It's easy, I think, for probably many to look at your business and say, well, oh, you have a great YouTube channel. You have a lot of students. You do really well. You make good money, lucky you. But it's like, it wasn't always like that. You hustled and you worked hard to get where you are, which makes it achievable for other people, I think.
Oh, yeah. And there will be seasons of hustle for sure. And there just has to be. And then there's going to be seasons where it's a little bit more mellow. Right now, I'm in more of a mellow point, which I really like. But in 2020, when my studio shut down, high overhead costs, like very expensive rent. I also was living on my own. We won't get too into it, but I was a single mom for 2 years and we got back together. But I was living by myself for 2 years with my 1-year-old. And so I had to find an apartment and I had no money. So my studio was very expensive, no income coming in, find an apartment and take care of me and my son. And that was hustle mode. So I was up from 8 p.m. to midnight or later every night creating courses. So that's when I filmed my sequencing course that I launched. I was always in my Facebook group trying to grow it larger. And luckily, or I think this was more luck, my Facebook group grew from 500 to 1,500 in a month. And now it's at almost 50,000. So it's got a lot of members in it, a lot of people in it. It's yoga sequencing and teaching tips. So I have a Facebook group and just started going down like the teaching yoga sequencing route. Even though it wasn't my passion, it was something I could do. So I built a course on it and started really just diving into that one topic. And it worked. It was what I needed to do at the time. Although my actual passion is teaching technology tips and software and marketing, like that to me is way more fun. But I needed to fill the gap that I saw that I could fill at the time, and then later become the expert someplace else.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious for anyone who's listening who maybe wants to kind of take their business online or is like not really sure exactly how to get going, like, what tips would you have for them? And I feel like you kind of just touched on where it's like, if you see a gap that you can fill in your expertise, like just jump in and go for it.
Yeah. And one of the things that I found and I've learned from some of my mentors is that the first thing and the first topic or first niche that you decide on is likely not what you're going to teach for the rest of your life. So you don't have to pick something that you feel like has to run your entire life forever and ever. So choose something that you do see a need that needs to be filled or a gap or something that you have expertise on, but you don't necessarily have to be the completely passionate about it. And that's okay. But you have the expertise on it. You see people asking you for more of it. That's a great rabbit hole to go down for a while. And you can always shift. So you can always shift as time goes on, and which is what I've done. So even in 2016, I wanted to teach technology tips for yoga teachers. I even made a Facebook group on that, but it was a huge flop. And so I went back to yoga sequencing and I was like, okay, I'm teaching this topic. It's not my favorite, but I have methods and frameworks for it. And that's another tip is if you do have something you can, or once you have a topic you can teach on, is to develop your own framework or your own step-by-step method, your own proprietary method, because no one can take that from you and it can be uniquely yours. So having your own method is something that creates insider language. It makes it known that it's something that you and you alone teach. It's easier to market with curiosity. Like when I talk about my sequencing methods, I talk about the wave flow method. And someone goes, well, what's a wave flow? Like, well, you'll have to join my course to find out. So creating my own methods around things. And if you're creating courses, that's such a great thing to do, is to have proprietary methods or things you make, and you can make them up. It's nothing, it just involves a little creativity. So a little creativity, create your own methods. You can, of course, take ideas, not take, but look for ideas from others. And competition really is validation. So there's another tip, is if you see someone else doing the same thing that you want to do, that's not a bad thing. If they're successful at it, it means that there's room for more and that people want it. It's when you don't see it anywhere out in the world that it's probably not a great idea. So another thing I always wanted to teach and I don't is handstands. I love handstands. I absolutely want to be an arm balance coach, but that's not the path for me. That's not the path for me because, well, number one, I love it as a personal practice. But what I found is now doing what I'm doing, instead of teaching arm balances, I can simply refer to other amazing coaches out there. And if I wanted to pivot in that direction, I could, but I won't because I've got a really good thing going. But just know that you can make those shifts. You can change, you can pivot anytime you want. But give it time, give it a lot of time before jumping from one thing to the next.
Yeah, for sure. I love all those tips. So thanks for sharing that.
And lots of consistency, not just in the duration, like timing, but also consistency in your branding or consistency in how you show up, the words that you say, your introduction. People like repetition.
Yeah, I love that. And I think just like putting stuff out there consistently too. I think it's so easy we want like kind of instant gratification, I think, these days. And it's not just the collective people out there, like it's me too. It's like easy to put one thing out there and say, oh, maybe it's not working because it didn't go viral or it didn't take off right away. But I think one thing I've learned through my business is like consistently putting out stuff can help you build your audience over time. It's like you don't just necessarily put something out and have 10,000 people like it right away. It doesn't just happen that way.
Yeah. And I think it's important that yoga teachers get a little bit more knowledge on like business lingo, like conversion rates. What does that mean? And what is the typical percentage of what converts or what turns someone from a viewer into a buyer? And I see a lot of times where people will make one post and say, but I got nobody in my classes, or nobody's joining, or it was a failure. And they made maybe 2 or 3 posts and perhaps 100 people saw it, but the conversion rate is like 1 to 2%. And you have to keep posting over and over and over again. So if you can track your data, you can track your analytics, that's going to save you so much frustration and emotional frustration, because then it's neutral. It's just numbers. So you can see how many people actually saw something. You can track and see and realize that, okay, if an average percentage of people who saw turns into buyers as 1%, then it makes sense that I maybe had 1 or 0 sales. So understanding your numbers, very, very important.
Yeah, hugely important. And I feel like quite honestly, it's not my favorite thing to do. So I feel like I'm probably not alone, but I think that, knowledge is power, right? And understanding your numbers, it goes for your analytics, like you said, your revenue. I feel like it's so important to understand all of that type of stuff. One of the things I'm curious about, Ashley, is how you decide like what topics to do courses on. Because obviously there's lots of different content you can put out there. And, when you put out like a YouTube video, if it does really well, is that like, okay, percolating on maybe could this be a course, or kind of what's your decision-making process for that?
Good question. Well, it might be different for me now versus when I was first starting. So when I was first starting, what I found was I put a lot of content out. Like I tried a few different topics in YouTube on my YouTube videos, and I was sharing different random things on the internet, on Facebook at the time. And I think what took me down the path of yoga sequencing was I had one YouTube video that randomly did really, really well. So because of that, at the time, it had 10,000 views, and that was for a brand new channel was like, whoa, no way, there's something there. So that's when I knew I could do more with that because it was a framework. It was a great video to create a course on. It was 10 steps to sequencing a yoga class. If this is a popular YouTube video, there's got to be a desire for more with that. So my method for the course that I first created was because I saw the numbers, the views when it came to my YouTube channel, but not everyone's going to necessarily have something that stands out like that. And so for some of us, it's about choosing something that you enjoy personally, that you have expertise around, and there's also interest in the community. And for some, it might be a beginner yoga program. And I think that's great too, that there's a lot of beginner yoga programs out there, but it's my belief that everyone needs a beginner or introductory yoga course or program or workshop. I actually have a course on creating an introductory course on beginner yoga because, like you said, and like I said, the first thing that you do, you're going to cringe at it later. So why not just have it be a course to teach beginners or something that's really easy for you? So take the thought process of what should I teach out and just do the work and see the process and to learn from it. So I created a course on how to create a beginner course just so we could do that, get it over with, and then move on to the things that you're really, really interested in if there's something else that you're really passionate about. So back in the day for me, it was seeing what worked online, seeing what worked with posts. And if I had an interest in it, if I had made a YouTube video about, how to use props or something, and for some reason that like blew up huge, I have no interest in teaching a course on how to use props. So I might just be like, all right, that was a one-time thing, I'm not interested. So you also have to be interested yourself in the topic. And for a lot of people, I think it's just choosing something and actually following through and going further with it than you might want to. Just like when you're holding like a warrior two pose and they say the pose begins when you want to leave. Well, your course creation begins when you want to stop and not do it. So that's when the magic actually happens, is you have to get through that. You go through the excitement, you go through the downturn of thinking it's never going to work, and you launch it and you get it out there and you push through anyway. That's when you're going to find a little bit more success.
Okay, cool. I love that. Thanks so much for that advice. And then I'd love to dive into a little bit about YouTube, because I feel like YouTube is, you're kind of an expert in YouTube, and I feel like YouTube is this thing where it's like you can put some stuff out there, you can kind of throw spaghetti at a wall, see what sticks, something sticks. You're kind of like, I have no idea why I have 10,000 views on this video. And I feel like over the years, you've become quite a bit more strategic in kind of understanding the platform. So can you give us a little bit of the insight and whatnot, and what you'd recommend for yoga teachers who are interested in teaching on YouTube?
Yeah, there are two ways that I see yoga teachers showing up on YouTube, and one is more popular than the other. And I teach on the second way that's not as popular. So the first way I see yoga teachers showing up on YouTube is what a lot of us assume a yoga YouTube channel would be like, is posting classes. So I'm going to share my 30-minute vinyasa classes, and I'm going to create a 10-day series to help your lower back pain. And it's all yoga classes. And that is one way to build a YouTube channel, doing a library of classes. And that's fine. But a couple things about that: it's going to grow slower. Your retention rate's going to be lower. There's a ton of people doing that. So competition is high. And I don't think is the best way to grow a business. It's a great way to have fun if you enjoy posting videos because it's a hobby of yours. If you don't need to really grow your business much, if revenue is not of interest to you, if you just want to have fun posting videos, sure, go for it. Do that. The yoga video library technique. The way that I would recommend that yoga teachers show up on YouTube is really providing a variety of different content. And it's kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, but not really, because there is some strategy to it. So it is to test out your videos first, test out some different topics at first. So your first 8 or so videos are going to be on different topics of interest and not just teaching yoga classes. You might have one yoga class video, you might have one meditation video, and then it's discussing other things. So complementary topics like essential oils or how to use props, or it might be a direct to camera video. It might be a vlog video where you're doing a join me to get ready with me to teach my first class at a studio, or join me before like a vlog of my morning yoga class adventures, or whatever someone vlogs about. I don't vlog much anymore. Those are also really tough to convert into a business. But for a business, it's creating that test phase of seeing what topics do well, what you enjoy as well. And sometimes you just post videos for the fun of it. I think that's important too, not just to get so strict about it, but just, posting something because it's fun. But to having that test phase is important. Trying different styles, different teaching styles, different yoga styles, and seeing what your audience enjoys watching. And from there, it's creating a web of videos based on what performed well, or what you see people liking, or what you enjoyed. So if you had a video that was like a 30-minute vinyasa class and it did really well, look at the numbers, notice what did well, maybe why it did well, where the traffic is coming from, but then creating videos that what I call the content tree, where you have that one video as your primary, and then you create a tree or branches of other videos that relate to that video topic or what you said inside of it. So in a 30-minute vinyasa class, you may have a video pulled from it saying, okay, here's how to use a block in triangle pose, because in this other video, I showed triangle pose and I got some questions about how to use a block. Or it might be sharing a story, or maybe it's like you shared Warrior 2 and you talked a little bit about the history, but you couldn't go super in depth. So you pull that out of the video and go more in depth in a different video. So it's really pulling out different little things and pieces on a video that performed well or better than your others, and creating this web or tree of other videos, which I did with my microphone videos. It's not yoga, but it was helping yoga teachers. I had one video that did well in 2020, and it was how to use a specific microphone. And because that video, I won't say went viral because it didn't go viral. It's just a very searchable topic. So a lot of people searched for it, were looking for answers. I then created 30 other videos talking about microphones.
30. Oh my God.
30. Well, over the course of 2 years. I
was like, damn, girl.
So I have a playlist on just microphones, and it has like 32 videos in it. So I created a lot more. But had I just stuck to like, this is one video doing well, it would have just maybe got pushed back or lost. But I started to take people's questions and answer them. And think about, as yoga teachers, what are the common questions you get asked before class and after class? That's what I see as a great YouTube channel, is you're not just providing the yoga studio class, you're also providing answers to questions before and after class too. So think of it as a whole studio experience on YouTube. So someone walks in and you're going to give them an introduction. Say, hi, I'm Ashley. I'm teaching the class. We're going to do a 30-minute vinyasa. I hope you enjoy it. Do you have everything you need? And that can be a video where you introduce yourself and they say, I think I have to borrow a yoga mat. What's the best kind of yoga mat if I were to buy one? There's a video right there. Or, can I wear socks in the yoga class, or should I take them off? Even answering that question, that's a yoga video, or that's a YouTube video. And then you go into the yoga room and someone might ask, are we allowed to talk? Like, they might have questions. And those are all good little yoga videos, YouTube videos that relate to yoga, that you can pull into your channel, even if they're 5 or 10. Actually, they should be 5 to 10 minutes. They should be short. That's what YouTube's about. It's long form content, but not too long. You have to train people to watch the longer videos. But any questions people ask before classes or after class, like, what if I feel dizzy? I love this method of answering questions because it makes it easy for me nowadays. When someone asks me a question in my Instagram DMs, I just send them a YouTube link. I can say, okay, I've got a video on that. Here you go. Instead of having to repeat myself over and over and over.
Yeah, I really love this method. And I kind of have two questions off of this for you. So the first one would be, how do you balance, giving away all of your knowledge for free versus making sure you have paid offerings? And then part two would be like, is there a paid revenue stream for YouTube?
Yeah. Okay. So with YouTube, I give a lot away for free. I will say that, but it's not step by step, or it's so hard to piece together everything in a succinct order. So someone could go to my channel and get a lot of value if they watched all the videos, but it's going to take so much time. So I don't get too concerned about, well, I want to leave this for my paid product, or in order to get the full thing you have to buy my course, which I do say in some instances, but I put a lot of content on YouTube, and a lot of it does answer a lot of different questions. But like I said, it's there's no follow this path. Whereas my paid programs have a path. They actually have a step-by-step path, and I go a little bit deeper with the how to. So I put a lot of microphone videos, like how to use microphones, online on YouTube for free, like tech tutorials, but they're not going to get business strategy with that. They're not going to get the strategy of how they actually go from in person to online business through my YouTube channel. They might get a couple tips that change their mindset or answering some misconceptions and myths, but not the full step by step. So it's not a path.
Right.
Where, yeah, the paid programs are that full path. You start here and you end here. And you also don't get my personalized attention with YouTube. You get me and you see my personality, but you don't get to ask me questions or group coaching or one-on-ones. For my attention, for my personalized talk with me in real time, you have to pay for that. So it's not something that you can get through YouTube. And YouTube does have some, monetization availability. The first one most people think of is YouTube AdSense, which I say don't even really worry about or concern yourself with. I don't think subscriber number is not really that big of a deal. What we actually want to use YouTube for is directing to our paid programs or our email list. So YouTube AdSense is available for people with over 1,000 subscribers, and you have to have 4,000 watch hours within 12 months. So then you can turn on the YouTube monetization, put ads on my videos, and pay me money type of option. And I remember doing that in 2018. I didn't realize I could. I had 2,500 subscribers. I had the thresholds. I'm like, cool, I'm going to do that. Can you guess how much I made monthly?
I'm imagining that it's a lot lower than we might be thinking. I don't know. I'm going to throw out like $55.
25.
Oh, wow.
$25. I had 2,500 subscribers. I had hit the thresholds. I started making $25 a month. And that's what I made for 2 years. So it was about 25, maybe up to $50 a month. So it's a lot of work for very little return. And even now, I will tell you, I have 25,000 subscribers at this time, and I maybe make $400 or $500 in AdSense. So it's not a lot. And it's not based on subscriber number. It's based on how many views you get on your videos. So I hadn't posted for 8 weeks. So it went down to 200. And then I posted 3 videos. It went back up to 400 because my video started showing up in the algorithm again. And people started watching them a little bit more. So it's not a lot of money for the amount of work that it takes. So it's like a little bonus. So if you're wanting to monetize on YouTube, the AdSense option is really just a bonus. It's great, but it's not what's going to grow your business. It's not what's going to make the majority of your revenue of your business. That's going to be much, much lower. Instead, it's within the videos that you're directing people to join your email list, to download a free guide that gets them on your email list, or an introductory product, an ebook, or something that you're promoting that's usually lower priced that then leads eventually to something higher priced. So there's a whole path, the funnels and all that, but really it's getting them off of YouTube. And that's the strategy that most business owners or yoga teachers turning into business owners maybe don't realize so much. You think, great, I'm going to put a whole bunch of yoga videos up and I'm going to teach yoga. but there needs to be a call to action to get them off of the platform. So it's used as marketing, not as your primary your membership or primary anything. It's not primary. It's just a marketing channel that leads them into the depths of your business, onto your email list, into your programs.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And thanks for being open about those numbers. Cause I think there is maybe like a misconception that if you want to be like a yoga YouTuber per se, that the route you're going to take is like build a big following, make money off ads. And it seems like, that's just not really like a livable, sustainable option.
And yoga teachers actually make much less per 1,000 views than like a finance channel or someone who talks on technology because of the types of ads they run. So there are numbers. It's different for everybody. Some people make $2 per 1,000 views. Some people make $10 to $15 per 1,000 views. And if I look at my numbers, my video, 10 Steps to Sequencing a Yoga Class, it's got 100,000 views. It makes $2.95 per 1,000 views. Whereas a video, me talking on microphones and tech stuff, makes 12 to 15 per 1,000 views. So it's my microphone videos that carry the AdSense revenue because the types of ads, people pay more for tech ads, and they're more clickable. Whereas someone sharing yoga or mindfulness or minimalism, the type of ads that run on there, I mean, someone who wants to learn about minimalism isn't going to buy something. So the ads are not as they're not as expensive, or you're not going to make as much from them. So yoga teachers and yoga videos don't make as much from ads. Also, you don't want ads in the middle of your yoga videos. So you don't want them splitting up. Yeah, you can have them at the beginning and the end, but you wouldn't want them in the middle. So then you're cutting your revenue there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely had that before. And because I live in Mexico, I get most of my ads in Spanish, and there's like nothing worse than like being super zen and like just getting into it. And then it's like something super fast in Spanish, like sign up for this thing now. And I'm like, really?
No.
Yeah. So yeah, yes. That's another good point too, is like, you can't have like, I don't know, like mid video ads, and podcasts are called mid roll, but you'd have to have them at the beginning and the end. And even the end is like, do you want people to come out of Shavasana and then be like, in their face, like buy sushi right now?
No. Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't want that. And also, instead of having the ad play, I would say create your own ad for your own program. Why not you be the annoying ad, not annoying, but the ad that plays less annoying than the ones that play after, and say something like, thank you for joining. Make sure to check out such and such on my website. Go here, click the link in my description. And you can be your own version of ads for your own programs and make a lot more money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely like a route with podcasting too, as well, to monetize. Like if you have your own programs, if you have your own courses, use your podcast as that source rather than having like another company pay you to put ads on, because that can be often more financially viable for your business, especially in the long run, right? Like I think we have to think about like the short game versus the long game. And if you are trying to play the long game, it's like having ads for your courses or your programs over the long term where people can see them. It's like an evergreen ad, right? Like that's so much better for you in the long term than it is to have some other businesses ad on your show or on your channel.
And podcasts and YouTube videos and a YouTube channel or a podcast, they're very similar. So there are the evergreen methods, very searchable. People find content, listen to it or watch it. If I wasn't such a visual person and I love creating videos, I probably would have a podcast instead. But trying to build two in the most effective way, or trying to do both in a very effective way, is difficult at one time, especially with kids, well, especially anybody who's busy. So usually you have a focus on one. So if you have a podcast and that's your baby, then you focus on the podcast, and you might have a secondary, YouTube channel that's just there. I have my YouTube channel. And so starting a podcast sounds a little bit overwhelming. So it's not something I'll do, but a lot of the same kind of content goes on a YouTube channel. It's just delivered a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. And also resonating with having a lot on your plate. And the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about with you today is, and this is, of personal interest as well, since I think we're in sort of similar situations, is I'd love to hear like how you're balancing, motherhood with working, like, keeping your job up, keeping your business going while also, showing up for your little ones in the way that you want to. Cause I feel like that's been one of my biggest learnings over the last year of motherhood has just been like the tension of like, sometimes I'm with her and I'm thinking about work, and sometimes I'm at work thinking about being with her. And it's just trying to rectify, like finding the balance of being both a mom and a business owner.
Yeah, that's something that I've had to just dive into and learn from experience, less about actually learning from, experts, because I don't think anyone can really be an expert on someone else's life. You have to uh, learn as you go for this, because each kid is different, each person's business is a little bit different. And so the first thing, I mean, I said that I had that to make the hard decision of letting go of my studio because I wanted my kids, plural now, to be a priority and to be able to not be gone for dinner time, or um, have to take them with when they didn't want to go to a training, or like I just wanted them to come first when it came to that. So I've actually had to let go of a lot of ideas and plans, and not in a bad way, because I've got these wonderful children that I get to hang out with, and I absolutely love it, and I want to cherish this time. But I know that if I were in my 20s again and just living with my dog, I would be doing like way different things. I mean, my time would be spent a lot differently. And so it can be amazing to look at someone with kids and say, wow, you're getting so much accomplished. How do you do that? How do you balance it? But what you don't see is what they're not doing. So there's so many things that I've decided I just won't do anymore. And I've had to let go of teaching in-person classes, because Sunday mornings just didn't work, evenings didn't work, and no one really wants to take a 2 p.m. yoga class. So that time doesn't work. So I've had to let go of that for now. And also, getting in my mind that it's really just for now. It's a temporary thing. If I want to own a studio again in the future, I can. It's not this permanent decision. It's right now, my focus is going to be mostly on my kids and doing my best to give them priority, but also working because I need something for myself. So I'm really bad at a stay-at-home mom. No, I'm a great stay-at-home mom, but I don't want to do it because I do stay at home. I work from home, but I need a little bit more than caring for kids and doing laundry, which I don't want to do anyway. I don't like doing a lot of that stuff. And I do it because, that's what you do to keep up a household. But at the same time, having something that excites you just for you is so important. And for me, that's building courses and YouTube and videos. And I do a lot less than I did in the past. So balancing kids and work, it's setting specific hours. And so I have hours right now, like from 10 to 2, and it's not 8 hours, it's 3 or 4 hours, a couple days a week of super focused time. So in that super focused time, when my kids are with their dad, or my oldest is at daycare and my littlest is taking a nap, those are the times where I know I can't be cleaning. I can't be working out. I can't be doing things that I could do while they're around and distracted. Instead, I hyper focus and only do the things that could be done while I have that time, which a lot of times is making videos and things that need that focus. And you'd be surprised. I think people who aren't maybe parents or who don't have time crunches don't realize how much you can get done in 2 hours. It's a lot. So if you super focus on it, you can get a lot done. And that's kind of what I've had to do, is just the hyper focus mode, know exactly my next steps. And in those tiny bits of time that I have just to myself, to only do the tasks that I know will move me forward. And for me, it's making videos, it's creating content, it's doing interviews and Zoom calls.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. And I really resonate with so much about what you're talking about, because I just have childcare. I have a nanny twice a week. So I have about 10 hours of like focused work time. And so it's like that plus naps. And it's like she goes down for a nap and I'm like, okay, mama's in work mode.
I actually used to use the local, before COVID, I used our YMCA, the gym. So the gym had 3 hours of childcare. So I would work at the gym in their little cafe area. I would bring my computer And if he was sleeping, I'd work. And then once he was up, he'd go into child watch. I'd keep working. So I used my local gym for a while and their child watch. It was really cheap at the time. And my oldest didn't start daycare until he was 2.5. So I used a lot of those nap times. He was 2.5 when he stopped taking naps. And I'm like, all right, I need like 2 to 3 hours. We need daycare.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Naps are a gift for sure. I'm definitely not taking those for granted right now.
I'm hoping my baby's now 8 weeks old. So I'm hoping he's just as good of a napper, because my first would take like 3-hour naps and it was glorious. But I know not every kid is the same. So we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, for sure. Mine's a good napper too. So
good.
It's hard when you don't know too. Like I had a friend the other day who has a baby the same age as mine, and she was like, I'm getting like maybe 1 hour a day. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to send a little like bit of gratitude out to the baby gods and just say like, thank you that mine sleeps a little bit more than that during the day and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah, you just don't know. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I just admire the work you're doing and whatnot. And I definitely know it's a lot. It's a lot to run a business and to also balance like showing up for your family and stuff. But I think it's like beautiful to also show your kids what it means to like work hard for the things that you want and to have a passion, and you can love them and you can also love what you do. And I think that that's setting a great example. So,
oh yes. Yes. And this morning, I teach a 6 a.m. Zoom class, and I just put it back on again. My baby was awake, so he joined me and he's just hanging out with me, and everyone thought it was so cute. And I yogaed him back to sleep 10 minutes in, and that's what you just got to do sometimes. And I took that advice came from a local teacher here who owns a studio with her husband. She taught classes for a full year, like 3 times a day, baby wearing. Like she brought her baby with her. She like seeing her do that. I'm like, I can teach 1 Zoom class a day with a baby if I have to. If she's teaching 3 in-person classes while wearing a baby, that's amazing. So it's, where there's a will, there's a way. You can make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. And people are super understanding about that too. And I'm sure like all your students were thrilled to meet your baby. Yes. Not in person, but like, live on the camera.
Yeah. And if he was crying, my rule is if he's crying, this is for my first son when he was little and this one now, if he's crying or needs me, I just cancel, and it's not a big deal. I just cancel or say, all right, we're 10 minutes in. You guys do the rest, do your meditation. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll try again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And I could just keep you here all day, but I feel like we've been chatting for a while. So we'll wrap it up. Yes. And I'm curious if you can share with listeners where they can go to learn more about you, where they can go to find you, if they want to, follow your YouTube channel, follow you on social, buy your courses, all that good stuff.
My handle and all the places, or the name that I use, is Ashes Yoga. It's ASHES Yoga. So like rise from the ashes, it's great. AshesYoga.com, Ashes Yoga on Instagram. If you search Ashley Hagen on YouTube, you'll find me there. And that's really the best place. And then I mentioned my Facebook group, Yoga Sequencing and Teaching Tips, which is more of like a resource group and a great community. But to find me, it's Ashes Yoga.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation today. This has been really great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of the podcast. To find links, notes, resources, and everything mentioned in today and all episodes of the show, you can head on over to mbomyoga.com. You can find the podcast and myself on Facebook and social media at Mastering the Business of Yoga. And I would love for you to join the private Facebook community, Yoga Business Badasses. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please make sure you reach out to me at info@mbomyoga.com. And last of all, if you enjoyed this episode of the show, please make sure you hit subscribe and leave a review for the podcast. It would mean the world. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.